going to start with the concept organism and population. So this organism and population is very important concept for the need point of view as well as theoretical concept of view. So before going to know about what is organism and what is population, so some of the basic information is very essential to make sure of about this concept. So in that, first thing is habitat. So everyone know well about habitat. What is habitat is nothing but the place of living organism is called habitat. It is a place of living organism is called habitat. So this organism and population, which is comes under ecology concept. One of the famous scientists, writer, explained about the ecology in a well-defined manner. Ecology is nothing but it is an interrelationship between biotic organisms with its physical environment. So one thing we should notice in this definition is that one is the biotic organism and another one is physical environment. Biotic organism is nothing but all the living organisms which includes all type of organisms which are surviving in the living state. Those are called as biotic organism. So physical environment is nothing but abiotic factors. Abiotic factors which includes either it may be sunlight or it may be CO2 or it may be radiations, etc. All the things which are not in the state of living, non-living things we can consider as abiotic factors. Every living organisms which may not be survive without interacting with the surrounding environment. That surrounding environment is nothing but physical environment that consisting of abiotic factors, sunlight, CO2, radiations, etc. For example, if we are considering plant is an biotic factor or biotic organism. So without abiotic factors like this sunlight, CO2, whatever it may be, which are comes under the physical environment, without their use, the plants cannot show the process called as photosynthesis. So by this example, we can clearly say that all the biotic organisms which are interlinked or which are share their characteristic features among physical environment to fulfill their functions, so that ecology plays a very important role. It may explain in such a manner that it is defined as it is an interrelationship between biotic organism with its physical environment. Example is as I already given, that is the best example. So later on, okay. So we can move further. So what are the levels which are present in ecology? There are 4 levels. One is organism. Second is population. Third is community. And last one is biome. These are the four levels which mainly explains about ecology. Okay. So out of these, we know all about the organism from the first year classes onwards. Every organisms which is having a cell in it first time, and later on the collections of cells we can call it as tissues, and a group of tissues we can call it as organs, and group of organ we can call it as organ system level organization, and all are collectively we can call it as organisms. Either it may be single cellular organisms or it may be multicellular organisms. So next comes to the most important concept, that is population. So it will plays a very important role, and many more questions asking by this population in the NEET competitive studies also. So population in definition, it's in the word itself says that it is nothing but a group of people. Group of people are group of organisms which belongs to same species, which belongs to same species present in a particular geographical area per unit time is called as population. Population is nothing but, once again I will repeat, it is a group of people or a collection of people or organisms which are belongs to the same species, which may not be belongs to the different species and all, which are belongs to the same species. For example, if the human being, so the group of human beings we can call it as human population. If a group of cats, the group of cat we can call it as cat population. So likewise, so group of people or organisms which belongs to same species which are confined to the geographical area in a given time, that we can call it as population. So what are the attributes? Attributes of population. So next we can go with population in detail. Okay. Attributes of population. In generally, we can say that these are nothing but the characteristic features of population. So first thing is birth rate and death rate. And second is sex ratio. And third is age composition. These are the different categories or different characteristic features or different attributes of population. So first we can move with birth and death rate. How come this birth and death rate can be an attribute of population? So this birth and death, every population, if we are going to tell in a number, so there must be the consideration of how many births are there in that particular geographical area and how many deaths are there in that particular geographical area. Then only we can able to clearly clarify the number of people or number of individuals which are present in a particular population. So that birth and death rate plays a very important role, which also can as called as attributes of population. For example, if in a pond, there will be 20 lotus in last year. Okay. So in this year, 8 new lotus are added due to reproduction process. Obviously, if it is a living thing, it shows the most important characteristic feature, that is called as reproduction. So every lotus is having its own reproductive capability through that reproduction. So each and every lotus will show some amount of birth rates. So as a result, in the coming year, in the next year, in the next year, there were 8 new lotus are added due to reproduction. So what we have to know now is, so we have to calculate how much percentage of growth rate or how much percentage of birth rate is happen within this period, within this time period. So this can be calculated by birth rate can be calculated by using the formula. So newly added offsprings divided by number of individuals in last year. So as we know well about the data, newly added offsprings are 8 and total number of individuals in the last years are 20. So it may be around zero point 0.4, I think so, 0.4 offsprings can be produced per lotus per year. So this is the birth rate we can calculate by using this formula. This is about birth rate. So in the similar manner, death rate can also be calculated by using one more examples. So in the laboratory, there were 40 fruit flies will be there. Okay. And in a particular time duration, in a week, so there were 4 fruit flies were died. So how many death rate is possible? And again, same 0.1 fruit flies were died per week. So this is how we can able to calculate the birth rate as well as death rate in order to explain about the attributes of population. So this number of birth and death rates can be calculated by using the sensation in the form of human beings. If it is organisms, for example, if it is in a forest, the tiger population can be explained by using can be given by using their pug marks as well as fecal content which are available in that particular area. So these are all the criteria which are used for the explanation of attributes of population. So this is first thing, birth rate as well as death rate. So next we can go with second attribute, that is sex ratio. Every population is having different categories of individuals, so that we can explain by using sex of an individuals. So if we are considered the human being as a population, human population having male and female individuals, male and female individuals. So how much percentage of male individuals are there and how much percentage of female individuals are there? That ratio we can call it as sex ratios. The sex ratio is defined as the number of male and female individuals in a population is called sex ratio. For example, if 100% individuals are there or populations are there, out of that 60% are females and remaining 40% are males. So by this strata or by this data, we can able to explain the sex ratio. If once we can know about the sex ratio, it is very easy to clear that the population, whether it is increasing or it may be decreasing. So this is about second attribute, sex ratio. And when we come to the third one, that is called as age composition. So whenever we move with the third attribute of the population, that is called as age composition. Okay. So this age composition is nothing but we are going to divide the age of the individuals in a three categories. Okay. So first thing is reproductive age group peoples, and second is pre-reproductive age group peoples, and third one is post reproductive age group people. So there are three age group peoples are considered to explain about the population. So how much percentage of reproductive peoples are there? Pre-reproductive and post-reproductive peoples are there, that we can explain by using the graphical representation. By using that graphical representation, we can able to construct the age composition of a particular population. So that will tell us about the entire country. If, for example, if pre-reproductive age peoples are more as compared to the reproductive as well as post-reproductive, that country is having country with increased population rate every year. Increased population rate every year. So in such countries, we can able to observe pre-reproductive age group peoples are more as compared to the reproductive as well as post-reproductive age group peoples. So whenever we comes to opposite of this, so country with less population rate, in that condition, post-reproductive age group peoples, that is old age group peoples are more in case of the country with decreased population rate. The country with increased population rate, in such countries we can able to found more number of pre-reproductive peoples, that is young age peoples as compared old age peoples. So these categories we can able to explain by using the graphical representation. That is more important, the graphical representation. So there are three types of age composition. Pyramids are okay. Age composition graphical representation can be explained by using graphical representation. One is like this, expanding type of age composition pyramid. So it is in such a way. So here there is a pyramid like structures graphical representation we can able to observe. This is pre-reproductive age peoples, and this one is reproductive age peoples, and finally a short graphical representation or a very narrow pyramid which can explain post reproductive age people. So this pyramid we can call it as expanding type of pyramid. So whenever we look at the second type, so that we can call it as stable population. Okay. In a second type of age composition pyramid, so here both birth and death rates are common, is equal, birth rate is always is equal to death rate. So that will gives well shaped graphical representation. So that is in such a manner like this. So here pre-reproductive and post-reproductive age. people. So this is in shape of bell shaped. So stability will be maintained. There is no increased death rate, or there is no decreased birth rate, or like that. So both birth and death rates are equal here. That will give the stable representation of pyramid. And in when we come to the last thing, that is called as declining. So in case of declining, here the death rates are more. Death rates are more, and post reproductive age groups are more, and country with the less population, so that type of countries will shows always declining type of pyramids. So here we can able to observe the graph like this. Okay, like this. So declining type of population can be observed. So these are the three important graphical representation which can explain the age composition, and also which can tells the country which is having which type of peoples are more in their countries, whether it is increasing population rate country, or whether it is decreasing, or it may be stable. So such type of ideas we can able to get from the attributes of population. So these are the different types of attributes which are comes under the population. So we can move further. So next we can go with the different categories which mainly affects the factors which affects to the population. Next thing, the factors which affects. What are the factors? Factors which influences which influences population. There are four factors which mainly influences population. First one is natality. Second, mortality. Third, immigration. And last one, emigration. Okay, how these four factors which mainly affects to the population is the next question. So natality is a birth rate. We can represent that by the letter B. So total number of births. Total number of births per unit area per unit time is called as natality. Mortality is denoted as D, and it is total number of deaths is called as mortality, and immigration is represented as I. Here immigration is nothing but some sort of peoples or some group of peoples which are leaving the habitat to somewhere else. So such type of uh, way of expression factor is called as immigration. So like the immigration is always nothing but how we can able to explain this immigration is nothing but here some sorry some group of people some group of people which are entering into habitat from elsewhere. ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದನೋ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕಿರುವಂತಹ ಜನಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇಮ್ಮಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸಚ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೈಗ್ರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ as immigration. So obviously it is addition to population like natality. So this will also increases population and this will decreases population, and emigration is denoted as E. It can be denoted as E. So this emigration is nothing but some group of people, some group of people goes to another habitat, goes to another habitat that is not native to them from elsewhere, from elsewhere. Such type of migration is called as emigration. Here you see some group of people goes to another habitat from native in ಬೇರೆ habitat ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. So from some elsewhere, ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರುವಂತ ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ obviously the population will decreases. So by studying all these four factors, natality is total number of births, so that always increases the population because there is a addition is going to happen here, addition of number of peoples to the population rate, so that here there is an population rate is always increases. So mortality opposite to the natality, the total number of death rates. So here decreases the population rate because some amount of some number of peoples are going to die here, so that the population rate is always decreases. So next comes to immigration. Both natality as well as immigration work in such a manner, in a same manner, but the way is different. Here number of births will going to happen, that will adds to the population. But here in case of immigration, what will happens, some group of peoples which are coming, entering into the habitat from somewhere else. So ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬಂದು ಸೇರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ again there is a population rate is increases. The number of peoples are going to added to the original number, so that natality as well as immigration always gives positive effect, and this mortality and immigration always gives negative effect. So by using one of the formula, we can able to explain whether these factors are giving positive effect or it may giving negative effect. So how do we define or how do we give this formula? Let us study again. Okay. So first we can go with population density. Okay. So population density is nothing but size of population. Size of population is called as population density. So there are four factors. One is natality, immigration, mortality, and immigration. So these are the four factors which always influences the population. We know, we studied right now. And natality is explained, is denoted as D. I. Mortality is, natality is a birth rate. So it is B. Mortality is death rate. Immigration, it is denoted as E. Okay. So all these factors which are influencing to the population density, natality gives positive impact, immigration also gives positive impact, mortality will give negative, and immigration will give always negative impact to the population density. So this is how we can able to express the factors, excuse me, which are influencing on population. So one thing we should make clear is that always birth rate is more than death rate. So we can say that B plus I is always greater than D plus E. So this is what the actual increased population equation. In a country which shows always increased population every year or frequent years, so in that country, one thing we can able to conclude that always birth rate and the people who are entering into that country are always more in number as compared to number of deaths are going on and number of peoples are leaving that habitat and going to somewhere else. So this number, the addition of mortality as well as immigration is always lesser as compared to the natality and immigration, so that we are subtracting the numbers. Higher number is always more important to subtract with the lesser number. So here b plus I is higher number. Therefore, we are going to subtract this number with b plus e. And this population density we can able to explain by NT. N is nothing but population density at time t. At time t. So population density after some times. So what it may be means NT plus 1 is equal to NT into B plus I minus D plus E. So this is what the relationships are, the mathematical expressions which always explains the population density after time t, that is NT plus 1. Population density at time t, B is nothing but natality rate, birth rate, I is nothing but immigration rate, D is nothing but mortality rate, and E is nothing but immigration rate. So this is how we can able to explain the population, and whatever may be the expressions or whatever may be the mathematical formula we are given, that entire thing is based on the growth factor. So how does we can able to count the growth of the population? It is next question, very most important concept. So next we can go with population growth. Next is how we can able to explain this population growth. Population growth can be explained by two ways. One is exponential growth curve, and second one is logistic growth curve. Logistic growth curve. So whenever we move towards this exponential growth curve, so here it always tell about the resources are unlimited. Here the resources are always unlimited. resources are unlimited. So if the resources are unlimited, there is no limitation in the growth. So as the resources are gone increases, the species interaction is also increases. There is no competition here. Actually, if the resources are unlimited, no competition. There is no competition. So how we can able to draw this exponential growth curve means like this. As the time is gone increases, the population density is also increases like this. Okay, 1 minute. So because see here, there is no limitations of the resources, there is no competition. So as a result of this, what will happen? Always the growth rate is going to increase. Is it so realistic? No, it is not so realistic. It is not so realistic because the resources are unlimited. If there is no competition, the environment is not in such a way that the nature should not provide everything to everybody in all the times with abundantly. So there is lot of circumstances should be there among the individuals to get their resources, so then only they can survive in the environment. So that according to this exponential growth curve model, what they are going to tell means, so resource, this is completely opposite to the natural selection theory. So in case of natural selection theory, the survival of the fittest can be survive, and they can fittest among themselves, and they can show their reproduction in the environment. Then only the nature will select such type of organisms. But here, the resources are unlimited means there is no further increase in the rate. There is no further competition rate here. So all will get their resources in a tremendous concentration. So all will grow. So if such a case will happens, the nature is unable to take all the organisms in a, the population is gone, increases, and one day it may be burst. So because of that reason, we can say that it is not so realistic. So according to this, NT is equal to N naught e to the power RT is a formula which always says that N naught means population density at the initial time, and NT is nothing but population density at time t, and E is the natural logarithm, R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, T is nothing but time. So always there is an increasing, the exponential is such a way that there is an increasing population density is not possible in every cases, so that it was not realistic and it is not acceptable too. It is not acceptable too. So next, what they did means they go with this one of this logistic growth curve. So Paul Warlast, he was the scientist, explain about this logistic growth curve. According to this, the resources are always limited. If the resources are limited, there is a competition. There is a competition between the organisms, between the organisms to get this limited resources. So finally, fittest, fittest one will be the survival. Fittest one will be the survival. So this will gives S-shaped curve. S-shaped curve obtained by this logistic growth model, and it is so realistic. It is so realistic. So how we can able to explain this logistic growth curve means, again by using the same graphical representation by plotting population density with respect to time t. Okay. So this is time t, population density n. Okay. Mm. So here okay, 1 minute. So this is how the curve which is obtained under logistic growth curve. This is called as lag phase. This one is log phase, and this we can call it as asymptote asymptote stage or phase. Here there is a stationary phase. There are three different phases which can mainly comes under logistic growth phase. In the log phase, the rate of population is slow. In case of log phase, gradually increasing gradually increasing rate of population, because they're already adjusted to that environment. They have started fighting among themselves for the limited resources, what we are already mentioned here. So those who are fittest among the organisms, they will get the resources and they will go with the reproduction stage and all, so that it is gradually increasing. And whenever the period will goes to the satisfactory level, so that will comes to stationary phase. In the stationary phase, here there is no population further. There is no further population. So here what will happens? So in the stationary phase, there is a constancy which is attained in the environment. So that how does this process will take place means, so this is the maximum capacity of the environment in which the organisms can sustain in the environment. So that we can call it as carrying capacity. Carrying capacity, that we can denote it by the letter K. So asymptote phase, it is a saturated level already. It is a saturated level. Further, there is no population is going on under this stage, so that this asymptote phase is the final in case of logistic growth curve. So by studying all this concept, one thing we need to observe in between logistic as well as exponential growth curve. Under the exponential growth, there is no control. So every activity without control, that is not understandable, and that is not realistic, and that is not approvable thing to the nature. So here in this model, we can able to explain one thing, that the shape of the curve is S-shaped first thing, and resources are limited. Under this limited resources, the organisms will show themselves. Those who are fittest among themselves, they can survive in the environment, and those can only selected by the nature too. So every environment which is having its own capacity, so in that capacity level, they can give place for the survivability of many organisms. So those organisms have the ability to reach that carrying capacity, they will stay in the environment. If they are not having that much ability, they will eliminate eventually from the nature. So because of that reason, we can say that logistic growth curve is more realistic, and it can be more acceptable as compared to the exponential growth curve. Okay. So next thing, finished. Okay. Next, we can move further with the interactions in the population. So population interactions can be of different types. Either it may be predation, or it may be parasitism, or it may be competition, or it may be amensalism, or it may be commensalism, or it may be mutualism. In every relationships, especially in case of population, there are two species will be there. We are going to consider, we are going to take an example as two species, species A and another one is species B. In this interaction, in some cases, few species are get benefits and few species may be harmful. And in some cases, both will be benefit and in some cases, both will be affected one. I'm going to mention the things. If it is benefit, I am going to tell in a plus symbol, and if it is a harmful effect, negative symbol, I will go to explain. In the predation, the interaction occurs between the two species, species A as well as species B. So in this predation, predator will be the beneficial one, and it will go on acting on the prey, so that will be the affected one. So species 1, we can say that positive effect and another one is negative effect. So one will be the benefit and another one will be affected one. In the same manner, parasitism also too. There are two species are involved in the interaction of parasitism. So one species is the larger one and another one will be the smaller one. Smaller organism is called as parasite. Larger organism is called as host, where the parasite is going to lead their life. That is called as host. So this parasite, what it will do, it will go and enters into the host and it will grab all the things which is present in the host. So that host will be the affected one and the parasite will be the beneficial one. So again, there is a interaction is in such a way, plus and minus. And competition, in the competition, two species are very much strong enough to fight towards one particular resources. So in the competition, no one will be the benefit, both will get affect, so both will be the negative effect. So in amensalism, one will be the harmful and another one will be the neutral, nothing will happen. So in commensalism, one will be neutral and another one will be the beneficial one. In mutualism, both will be beneficial one. So in such a manner, we can go with an explanations of population interactions. Okay.